bad interviews happen to good people, right? Well, what happens when someone who's highly qualified doesn't get the role? I know what you can do about it, which is not much, but how can you learn from those moments, if at all, to help you in future interview situations?
Well, if you want to learn from the interview, you're going to have to accept the idea that you're not really going to, a lot of the times, get some very good feedback. Okay. We as human beings have 30 subliminal thoughts per second in our mind. And I have found in 20 years of debriefing clients after an interview that most of the time they make the decision, they weren't even aware of why they made that decision. We have 30 subliminal thoughts per second. And in the first 2 to 3 seconds, we tell ourselves a story with that thought. That's called the narrative. And it's what I used to call the first impression when I was a kid. And at that point, we just spend our time looking for evidence to prove ourselves right. And that's called the self-confirming bias. So a lot of times when you get feedback, you don't necessarily know why. I've blown an interview before, but I know why I blow it, and not because I got any feedback. I didn't. I knew exactly what was going on. I didn't do an interview preparation session, because why would I need interview preparation session? I do that for a living. So I didn't do interview preparation session, and I was in the interview, and I remember the words just kind of coming out of my mouth, wishing I could just grab them back. And it played right into one of those age bias things. And I knew it, right? And I knew it. And at that moment, she looked down and she started texting. And I knew. And then all of a sudden I heard a beep, beep. And she looked and she said, "Oh, so-and-so that was going to interview you next had to go into a meeting, but we'll get back to you." I knew what had happened. Didn't mean I got feedback from them. So here's the reality. There's 3 things you can control in the interview process. Number 1, how you prepare for that interview. How you prepare for that interview needs to be 2 things: research and interview coaching. And if you don't do interview coaching, then have somebody at home that can watch a video of you and then be very blunt and biased about it. Not usually in real time, because real time, there's lots of reasons. How you prepare for the interview. Best way to do it in high stakes interview, what executives do is they do executive interview coaching. Number 2, how you perform on the interview. There are a lot of things that can inhibit you from performing well in an interview, such as being distracted or thinking about something negative right before you go into the interview, which is also some of the things we work on a little bit. Number 3, how you follow up. All the follow-up in the world. Hey, I heard, or I haven't heard from anything from you yet. All that does is make you look desperate. There are right ways to follow up. You don't follow up with, I could go into a lot of things. Collateral is a big, having an executive interview leave behind that speaks to what you said when you were in the interview, not your resume. The whole idea to nail an executive interview is to not focus on your resume. And so your leave behind shouldn't either. So if you can nail those 3 things and know that you're doing them right, and those are the top things you should invest in, then you can know you did the very best you can. And if you don't get the role, it probably wasn't right for you, or someone just beat you out fair and square.
What's the worst thing you could say at the interview, Saundra?
The worst thing you can say, as it says in my resume.
I knew you were going to say that. Yes, right. Everyone, please remember that. Okay.
I'm sure you've had a chance to look at my resume.
There are various creative spin-offs, right? But they all lead to the same sad destination, right?
Okay. All right. Do we have 10 seconds for a joke?
We do, please.
Okay. You've probably seen this meme before because it's all over LinkedIn, but guy sitting in the interview, he's asked, what's your worst quality? What's your weakness? And he says, honesty. And they said, well, we don't think that's a weakness. He's like, I don't really give a darn what you think.
On that note, we have come to the top of the hour.